Ready when you are. Welcome. It's a great day to be a Rotarian. Imagine our club as a place that is fun and kind. Right, Joni? Let's now stand. Oh, good. For the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We give thanks for this food and fellowship. May Rotary friends and Rotary ways help us serve others all of our days. Thank you. Did anybody see Todd Payne come in the room? Todd Payne? I didn't see him. Okay. Then cup money this month is for Catholic Charities, abbreviation, I don't know if it's Senor or Senorita, Artist Sandwich Ministry, supplies for downtown lunch for 200 to 250 people every day. John Wall is getting us set up. I think maybe we're going to be open for business next week for credit card payments for your lunch. I'll have some more information in my weekly email next week. Thanks to Zach and Allison for a wonderful social last Thursday night at the Capra Courtyard. We had a lot of fun. Got to know each other a little better. That's part of our club being fun and kind. Right, Joni? And now it's time for Fun Bucks. Do we have any Fun Buck announcements? I see two CEOs in the back of the room that have a Fun Buck announcement. Oh, sorry, Tanae. In front of us. There you go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tanae Mosier, the CEO of the Kansas Children's Discovery Center.
And I'm Brendan, Zoo Director.
And we're excited to be up here today to talk to you about, you may have seen all the signs coming in, Vote Gage Park. On November 8th, everybody will have the opportunity to vote to support Gage Park. Gage Park has a long history and is home to many, many treasures, including the zoo and the Discovery Center. This would be a county-wide 0.2% sales tax that would benefit all three entities and allow us to make Gage Park an even greater treasure for many, many generations to come. Talk about the nuts and bolts.
Sure. The .2 sales tax is 2/10 of a penny. On a $100 purchase, it would be 20 cents of tax. What this really does is it relieves the zoo's burden on the city's general fund and broadens the tax base enormously. So much smaller tax, shifting away from the general fund, spread out over a number of people will make ginormous things possible in Gage Park.
250,000 people visit Gage Park from outside of Shawnee County every year. They come here, they spend money, they go out to eat. They can help with that funding.
That's right. So, like the sign says, vote Gage Park.
Karen,
Steve, I'm still too new at this to know how much money I owe you, but here's some money for the bucket. I'm Karen Hiller from this club, and I think everyone knows I'm on the city council, and I'm also chairing the Change Our Culture of Property Maintenance campaign, which began working on a 5-year initiative this summer on policy and procedures to do a better job with code enforcement and syncing up our departments, but also had an action side where we were actively, and hopefully you've seen publicity about it, encouraging people to mow their own yards or mow their neighbors or get a group together so that everybody was proactively coming up with a plan to take care of their yards themselves indefinitely. We're wrapping that up with a celebration on the plaza on the 15th of October. Everyone is welcome. It's a family-friendly event. But to get between here and there, we have 14 yards where people are low income and ask for help that we need help getting mowed before then. So if anybody personally would want to mow an extra yard or two, or knows a youth group or a church group or whatever that might want to come out and mow a couple of yards so that we can have 100% of the people who ask for help mowed by the 15th, speak to me. I'm at the press table. Thank you.
thank you. Any more? Okay. We have a number of service projects coming up, and I'll start with Roger, who is going to talk to us about Polio Plus on the 20th.
So put it on your calendar, the 20th. We have Rotary Lunch at the fabulous Capper Center hosted by Zach and his team. It's our annual Polio Plus meeting. And that evening downtown, hosted by Chris in the fantastic Kansas Constitution Hall, 5:30 to 8, Pints for Polio. So this week, if you wish, raise your hand, Blake, raise your hand, Sam, Kirk Johnson, anybody else? All right. You can talk to any of us and we can get you signed up for Pints for Polio, $50 a person, get you the awesome, great glass. If you got one from last year, bring it, and we'll put an etch on it for multiple years. So plan on both events, and today you can sign up with any of us that raise your hand, and next week we'll have a more active sign-up process as well.
Great.
The 20th, put on the calendar.
And when I looked yesterday, we were already at $1,000 collected towards our $5,000 goal. So we're on our way. Trunk or Treat is October 29th at Highland Park High School parking lot. They're looking for us to have 10 cars. And Angel, I was out recruiting earlier. So if you think you can be there from 2 to 4 on the 29th, we've been collecting candy. Susan couldn't be with us today, and so the witch didn't make it. But we've got a lot of candy already. If you want to bring candy, we will get it to Angel and Susan for that. Angel says you can supply cash also. The other big event coming up is October 15th. We are partnering with the Kansas River Keepers to provide lunch at the sandbar cleanup just adjacent to the Tecumseh cellophane plant. I have a handful of volunteers that are already signed up. I'm going to meet somebody from the Riverkeeper team a week from today. We're going to buy all the groceries and stuff. We're going to do at 9 o'clock, we're going to do a Rotary Rubbish Roundup at the Seward Boat Ramp. And then we'll all go down to Tecumseh, and we'll have a special pass that will get us and our tent and our grill and all our other stuff and team down to the sandbar. We're not going to be on the sandbar. We're going to be on shore. Just to be clear, if you're interested in joining Kirk Johnson, Stan, Terry Wages, David Beck, myself, that just let me know and I'll get you signed up. October 15th, Saturday the 15th. We're going to start at the Seward Boat Ramp at 9, and then we're going to be at the cellophane plant at 10. We're serving lunch at 11:30, and the event should be over at 2. But they're going to be hauling tires and battery cases and everything else that's gotten stuck on the sandbar in the middle of the river. Going to be a big thing. And I believe Ken Gimple is going to introduce our speaker today.
So 1 year ago, you had the opportunity to hear a gentleman named Steve Grant from Sports World. Today, our speaker's name is Jeff Neal. He'll tell you about who he is and what he did. The Sports World is a group that's been coming to Topeka since 1989. And we've missed a couple of years due to COVID, but we're back. And they spend 3 days here speaking at schools, and he's completed 2.5 of those days. He has one more school this afternoon, and then he'll be gone. So he will tell you what he does. So welcome, Jeff Neal. The first part of his presentation, in fact, start that now, is a 5-minute video that you saw a year ago. This is from Dearborn, Michigan Rotary Club president. Sound?
Sports World now for going on 3 years. It all started for me when. Hi there, everybody. My name is Patrick Koenig, and I am co-president of the Rotary Club in Dearborn Heights, Michigan. Our group has been working with Sports World now for going on 3 years. It all started for me when 5 years ago, my grandson committed suicide. And it really affected our family very, very deeply. And we knew that we had to do something because we didn't want other people to feel the hurt that we were feeling. So I had a bar at that time, and we always had a golf outing. And right away, we decided to turn the golf outing into a fundraiser for suicide awareness and prevention. The last 3 years, we've been able to raise $36,000. And at the beginning, we were looking for projects to use this money for would affect more people. And it just so happened that Tim came and spoke to our club. And after hearing what Tim had to say and what they were doing with students, I said, we have to get behind this 100% because you want to get kids when they're young. You want them to understand that they have a place to go where maybe they didn't before. So when we set up the program, it was for, I believe, 5 days. And in that 5 days, these retired professional athletes, I call them athletes anyway, I don't care if they're retired or not, came and spoke to over 7,000 students. And it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life. They talked about bullying, alcoholism, drug abuse and touched on suicide awareness. And watching them speak to these kids was amazing, how they got their attentions and were able to capture the hearts of a lot of them. And the main thing with this program is to find these kids that are hiding within themselves and have them come out of their shell and talk about things that are really bothering them. So all these kids from 7th grade up were given a comment card. And during the course of these 5 days, out of 7,000 kids, there were actually hundreds of these cards that read the problems and struggles that these kids were going through. And it was absolutely heartbreaking to see that number of kids that were struggling, that maybe these school administration people had no clue. So it opened their eyes to kids that might have gone through school and they knew nothing about, and can help them now. Anyway, after this whole process was over, they gave these cards to the administration office, and they were able to help, I'm sure, hundreds of kids. And our main goal when we started this with my family and the Rotary was if we could just save one person from going through the hurt that we went through, it was well worth it. And I decided from that point on that no matter what Sports World did or wanted me to do, that I was 100% behind them. And Tim has helped me a lot through all these feelings and stuff. I want to thank Sports World. I hope you guys get behind this program because it is so amazing. And just remember, these kids were in COVID all last year. So for them, things are really different, and they need people to come out and talk to them, to bring them back out of these shells and to talk. The main thing is to get these kids to talk, and these athletes were absolutely amazing. Anyway, that's what I have to say about Sports World. I hope you all have a great day and have a blessed day also. Thank you.
All right. What a pleasure and what an honor it is to be able to speak with you guys today and tell you a little bit about what Sports World is all about. Also, thankful for Dr. Gimple allowing us to be here. He supported our organization and provided us support to be able to do this for a number of years, and we are grateful for all you do. I'd love to tell you just a little bit about my background and then what Sports World does, and to just encourage you guys for a few minutes. So before I do so, I'm always reminded, I have a buddy of mine. His name is Smiley Elmore Jr. That's his given name. The only better name is Lucky. But Smiley Elmore, given name on his birth certificate, wonderful guy out of the University of Missouri, football player, running back, tremendous running back, and a dear friend of mine. And he used to say that before having this really life change, an event that happened later on in his life, before he had that happen, he was a very arrogant, prideful young man. And he said admittedly, I was very braggadocious about the athlete I was and the accomplishments that I was able to. But he said, Jeff, I'll give you an example. He said, we just got through winning a big game at the University of Missouri. And he said, we won this big game, and afterwards, me and many of my teammates went out to a nice steak restaurant, and we ordered our meal. And so sometime later, we ordered it, and he admitted he was pretty rude, but the waiter delivered his food, and they had some steak and some baked potatoes and some rolls that were delivered. And he said immediately he noticed there wasn't enough butter to finish his meal. And so he said, I very rudely called over the waiter. And he said, young man, I need some more butter. Go get it now. And he said, the young man very apologetically and very sheepishly said, sir, I'm very, very sorry, but it's restaurant policy that we only give 2 pats of butter to each person. I've already given you 2. I can't give you any more. Smiley said, I was angry. He said, I stood to my feet, pushed my chair back. And he said, young man, do you know who I am? He said, I began to go down the list of accomplishments. I'm an Oklahoma bodybuilding champion, All-American, and I'm expected to get drafted in the upcoming NFL draft in this round. He went through, and then he said, to punctuate his final sentence and accomplishment, he said, I poked him in the chest. He said, I bet you didn't know that, did you? And he said, the young man who had been hanging his head said, no, sir, I didn't know that. But then he looked up at Smiley. He said, "Sir, you must not know who I am." And Smiley said, "No, who are you?" He said, "I'm the guy who's in charge of the butter, and you're not getting any more," right? Right? That's the things that we think we are, right? So my story is I grew up in a home where I was not allowed to be prideful about the athletic accomplishments. My dad played Division I college football. Older brother did the same. That's all I really ever wanted to do. But to be able to get there, I had a pretty rocky path. I was pretty undersized for my position. I played at about 320 pounds when I was in the NFL, but I was an offensive lineman at 6 feet tall, which is really quite short. And so I wasn't highly recruited coming out of high school. I mean, I had some offers. I had some Division I offers, but they were based primarily upon my academic accomplishments. And so I got recruited by West Point and Air Force Academy and some of the Ivy League schools. But I actually ended up going to a little bitty, a small Division II school. And I went there and I started all 4 years, and I was an All-American in football and then an All-American in track where I threw the discus. And then certainly I thought, being a two-sport All-American, surely I'm going to get drafted. But at 6 feet tall in a small Division II school, I kind of had to work my way up. But I eventually signed my first free agent contract with the Houston Oilers. It's hard to say that name in schools nowadays. They have no idea who they are, you know. I have to assure them that I wore a face mask, right? But the thing is, I didn't pull my helmet out of my pocket. But nevertheless, there was a team called Houston, and then I spent my last year in the CFL, the Canadian Football League, before I retired to do exactly what I'm doing right now. I had some really, really great days. I always share with the kids. I was had some good games. I wasn't active, thankfully, during the big Buffalo Bill loss when they had a big comeback, but I did lose in the playoffs to a team by the name of the Kansas City Chiefs. You guys heard of them? And they had a quarterback then by the name of Joe Montana. You might have heard of him. He was above average, and they had a great game against us and beat us. And I don't want to sit here and brag about what a great athlete I was or anything like that. I will tell you, I got to play alongside some wonderful athletes. I played with Bruce Matthews out of USC, offensive lineman who's in the Hall of Fame. Mike Munchak out of Penn State, who's also in the National Football League Hall of Fame. And again, not to be arrogant, all three played on the offensive line together. Between the three of us, we had 24 Pro Bowl appearances between the three of us. Bruce had 15, Mike had 9, and I had none. But between the three of us, I just want you to know I'm kind of a big deal, right? And so I was this very, very average NFL player that didn't know how this thing was going to work out. I knew after my last year, I had 2 years left on the deal with Ottawa. I got picked up in an expansion draft, but I knew that I was called to do what I'm doing right now. And so I had a guy who's really kind of helped me out, a guy with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Houston. And he began to train me and to give me opportunities to speak. And I recognized, being this super average NFL player on a backup offensive lineman, didn't start till I went to Canada, that, man, you know, surely I can have a platform, he taught me. It was an amazing thing. He taught me something. He said, you know what, Jeff, there are two things that really kind of transcend all racial, socioeconomic structures. And he said, it's music and it's athletics. And I thought, wow, that's great. And he said, they provide platforms for you to be able to share a message. And I found out that was true. And if you heard me sing, you know I could play football, right? Because that's not what I can do. And I'm not musically inclined. But I found out this platform allowed me to speak in places that I would normally never be able to speak. I fly about 100,000 miles a year. I travel all over the world and speak. I speak on military bases. The U.S. government brings me to do character education on air bases in Tokyo and Okinawa. I speak in Europe every single year and speak in schools. I was recently in France and Germany. And I'm just very, very fortunate and privileged to be able to do indeed what I do. And so what we do, what is Sports World all about? And I won't be long. I think that the greatest gift the communicator has is brevity. And so I don't like to be long. But I will tell you just a little bit about what Sports World does. So we use the platform of athletics to be able to speak into the lives of young people. And so what we've done this week is we go into public schools. And we go into these public schools and we encourage young people to set their goals, their dreams, and their standards high. Our assembly has nothing to do with being a world-class athlete, but it has everything to do with being a world-class person. So we challenge them indeed to be world-class people, to set their goals, their dreams, and their standards high. Number two, to be good students. That they need to thrive in this environment that we're at, this very competitive environment that we're at. You know, the COVID epidemic had a very, very negative, severe negative effect on our educational process and our kids. I will tell you, in talking to administrators, even this week, I mean, there's going to be some longitudinal studies that reveal that what's happened to our students over these next 2 years may not even be recoverable. And I don't say that to be negative or pessimistic, but it's been devastating to these young people, not just academically, but socially. Their inability to even deal and to talk to one another. And so we go in there and talk to them about being academic. I tell them about my background. I have a bachelor's degree in secondary education. I was going to be an English teacher. And I had English teachers that encouraged me to write. I published a book a number of years ago. I have one master's degree in education, and then I'm working on another graduate degree right now. So to challenge them to be the best students they can possibly be. And then finally, to be cognizant and aware of those people that they hang around with. That indeed the people that we hang around with, they will impact the decisions that we make. And I know as we sit here and we're all adults and we're all grown, and you say, well, that's really rather common sense. And of course, every kid knows that, but they don't. They don't have any idea. I speak on university campuses. You would think that university students would think that they know these simple truths that I've just shared with you, and they're completely unaware. They think they know things, right? I'm always encountered by the 19-year-old male philosophy student, right? Who's been out of his mother's house for 2 years and knows everything. I love that student, right? He goes, I've studied philosophy for 2 years. I always tell him, that's great. With your philosophy degree, you'll be able to have deep thoughts about being unemployed. But that's great. You go get, I love philosophy. You go get your philosophy degree, but they're just unaware of these simple, basic principles that we're able to encourage them. And the platform of athletics, Sports World, the platform of Sports World gives us the opportunity indeed to do that. And then what you heard mentioned by the head of the Rotary group there, he mentioned Tim several times. Tim's the president of our organization. At the final, as we finish every one of our school programs, we have a little comment card that students fill out. And so what we do is we get just basic data. And this basic data is basically I want to get some feedback on how we did on the assembly. And so I'll get that on there. And then second, we give them an opportunity to be heard. And every single week, we meet young people that write down some of the most egregious situations that they find themselves in. I will tell you this week that we've had multiple kids that have said that they were contemplating suicide. They're struggling with mental struggles, with anxiety, with depression. And they write this down on a card. And you think, man, is it serious? I will tell you that if you have some overweight guy comes in your school that you've never seen before, and you'll write down on a card with your name on it that you're going through a problem, I'm going to take that seriously. And so we're able to turn these over to administrators and get help to be able to help these young people to do what they do. And then finally, I'll just say that I'm a person of faith, and my faith guides and leads and directs me. And we want these young people to have their life tied to something that doesn't move. I got to be honest with you. I have when I went to graduate school for my education degree, I went to a more liberal college, and I love liberal schools. And I was inundated with just some crazy ideas. The university I'm at right now is up in the Northeast, and it's a great academic institution, but rather liberal, left-leaning. And I've heard just all sorts of ideas. And these people, they have their lives often, it's planted and tied to nothing. And it needs to be tied to something that doesn't move, an ontic referent, we call that in philosophy. Something that doesn't move, that their life is anchored to. And fortunately, sometimes in some Christian schools, I'll be able to share just a little bit about what my life is anchored to. How indeed that real freedom is not just doing what you want to do, but real freedom, I contend, is living the way you were designed to live. And we tell these young people they were designed with purpose and direction. I'll finish with this. I have a wonderful wife and 3 just amazing kids. My youngest one is a freshman in college. So great kids, wonderful kids. For the last 20 plus years, my wife has allowed me to be able to travel. And I'm very, very fortunate to do that. Again, about 100,000 miles this year I'll fly. So we stay pretty busy, or I stay pretty busy. For 20 plus years as I traveled, my kids begged me for a pet. And they would beg me constantly, Dad, let us get a dog. And Dad, if you let us get a dog, we'll take care of the dog. Now, the reason I never let my kids get a dog is because they're a bunch of liars, and they will not take care of the dog, right? And so what's going to happen is that I'm going to be over in Europe somewhere, staying at some 5-star hotel, eating at a nice restaurant, and my lovely wife is going to have to take care of some stupid dog, and she's not going to be happy, right? And if mom ain't happy, nobody's happy, right? And that's not in the Bible, but perhaps it should be. So here's the deal. So I never let them get a dog, and I didn't let them get a cat because cats are terrible. But the thing is, I'm being serious. They're awful. But the thing is, I actually send your emails to Dr. King Dimple. But I did let my youngest son Graham. Get a pet. He's like 7 or 8. We let him get a little black beta fish, Jake the fish. Named him Jake. So my son's at school about a week after we get Jake the fish, and I look and walk into his room and I look in his fishbowl, and Jake is at the top of the fishbowl. Jake has left the earth. Right? He's no longer with us. And so 1 week after we had him, my wife comes in. She's devastated. She knows it's going to negatively impact her son. So she said, "Jeff, what are you going to do?" And I said, "I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the pet store and buy another one that looks exactly like it." And she says, "You talk to young people about being a person of integrity and character. You can't do that." And I said, "I'm going to get my keys right now." So what I did was, I'm a terrible parent. So what I did was, I went and got Jake number 2, and then about a month later, full disclosure, I've already admitted I'm a terrible parent, but full disclosure, Jake number 2 died. And so she says, "You can't do it again." And I said, "Of course I can." And so I get Jake number 3, and my son comes home from school and he looks at Jake the fish, and he's a little skinnier. I didn't match him quite as well. And he said, "Dad, Jake looks like he's losing weight or something, right?" I said, "Son, he's working out while you're at school is what he's doing, you know." Now this is stupid, and this is just, it's crazy, but follow me. Now, what if this Jake were allowed to speak? What if you're allowed to articulate his thoughts? And he said, "Hey, listen, I've noticed, old man, that you always limit my freedom. You always keep me confined in this fishbowl. You never let me sit on the couch. I've noticed," he says, "that every night after dinner, you and the family, you sit on the couch, you play games, you watch TV together. I've never been invited. I've never even sat on the couch. So," he says, "tonight what I want to take place is after dinner, I want you to scoop me up out of the fishbowl and let me sit on the couch with the rest of the family." And I say, "Well, you sure about that, Jake?" And Jake says, "Absolutely. Quit trying to limit my freedom." And so that night we have our dinner, we put away our dishes, the family sits on the couch, and I scoop up old Jake and I set him on the couch, and he will sit on that couch and have complete and total freedom for about 15 seconds, right? And then he will die, and we will move on to Jake number 4. The reason he'll die is because that's not the way he was designed to live. And real freedom is not doing what you want to do. Real freedom is living with a purpose the way that you were designed to live. And so we're able to encourage young people, to encourage them. Some listen, and I wish I could tell you that this was hyperbole, but I've met young people who've hardly ever had a positive word said over them. And they've been told day after day that they're worthless. They've been told day after day that you're going to turn out just like fill in the blank, and it's not a positive. And we're able to, for just a few moments, tell them that they were created with purpose. They were created to be something great. Give them the opportunity to give us some feedback and to be able to help those people. And that's why I dedicated my life to this, and I got the opportunity to travel around the world to do so. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to be here today and to be able to share with you. Thank you so much. God bless.
Jeff, we have time for questions if you'll take them. Having said that, I didn't see any hands go up. Nope.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a question, but having been a Buffalo Bills fan.
I'm sorry. You need to get your heart right, sir. That's ridiculous. I hadn't planned on praying this thing, but I might do that today if that's okay. Is there really a reason to bring that up again? Okay.
Players gather at the center of the field and pray.
Yeah.
You know, or meditate or whatever, and that just really brings things into perspective. And I know that Frank Reich and for the Bills, but what I saw was Warren Moon was not on the team.
So Warren Moon was there then. Yeah. So Frank Reich is a man of integrity and a man of character. He's very, very, and a man of faith, and a man who's well known around the NFL, and as a coach was loved, and as a player was loved probably even more. Remember, he took Jim Kelly's place then in that game, but he's an outstanding, you observed correctly. Wonderful man, man of integrity, man of character, and highly esteemed by those who know him in the NFL community. Yeah.
So I saw you play.
Yeah, well, yeah. Any others? Yes, sir. Yeah, so I was a super heavyweight. So I competed in there. It's kind of crazy if you don't understand. There's a drug-free class, right? They have a drug-tested competition. So those are the ones I competed in. And I was a powerlifter, super heavyweight. So I was well over 320 pounds. Bench press about 615 pounds, squatted about 900 pounds. Deadlift about 800 pounds and my IQ is 14. So all those add together. I always tell people I have above average strength and below average intelligence. So that's always what qualifies me. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Yeah. Drug-free was. Yes, sir.
COVID kind of could give us a reset. Kids and things happening again.
Yeah.
What's a positive? Seeing pre-COVID, post-COVID, an opportunity to become people?
Yeah, I think that a lot of times, and the educators have even stated this, I think that some of the online learning, and I'll just tell you, and this is just anecdotal, but it was a wreck, you know. It was a wreck. It was awful, and the kids didn't connect. Kids weren't on there. That's not an indictment of any educators. I hold educators in the highest esteem, but it wasn't their fault. But they did find out that some of these secondary online methods were good supplemental in a supplemental manner. That there was ways to get in, so utilizing the internet and things like that to help support students. So I think that's something that we're going to see that's going to be pretty positive. I will tell you though that some of the testing numbers are really, really scary on what's happened with. I'm even looking at like, National Merit Scholar scores and some of the SAT and ACT scores where they plummeted. And so hopefully we'll be able to come back around that. Educators have been, the education community has been devastated. In Texas, we had a large percentage of schools that weren't fully staffed walking in. Yeah. So I would say as a child of educators, I would say hopefully we're going to see some increase for teachers in their pay. And we're going to recognize that they're the professionals that they are. And then we need to compensate them accordingly. Yes, yes, ma'am.
I was talking to our Center City High School principal probably about a year ago now, maybe a little better. She touched on the extra problems and challenges the kids are facing. Her description was that she had not expected it, that the kids were feral was her term. That they were just been home so much that they were unsocialized, that her routine with kids is to approach them and give them a hug, and they would let her touch them. It was really scary to her. So I wondered if in your speaking engagements and interactions, there are tips that you can give us on just simply how to best reach out to kids that have been, whether it's COVID or otherwise.
Yeah, what a great observation. What a great observation by the administrator and a wonderful question by you. I think it's true. And I think that we can attribute a lot of that to COVID. I think we can attribute a lot of that to social media and connectedness. It's not really connected. And so I think that we had a ramp going into this that was only accelerated whenever they had that. I will tell you this, and I don't have any, I wish I had a panacea or a one-liner that I could give you, but I'm going to give you my one-liner, which I found out. I love school. I love to study. I spend my time, a lot of time on university campuses doing debates and so forth. So I love school, and not many people say that. I love academics. I love to study. I love debate. I love all of that. And I heard an aphorism one day that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think it's just so true. That my favorite part of every assembly is the few moments I have afterwards when I have eye contact with a young person. Actually hear what they have to say, pause long enough to hear what they have to say, and just to care. I wish I could give you something that's greater than that. But isn't that what we all know to be true? But sometimes the things that are so obvious, we don't do. And educators, man, they have just a thankless task out there. And so, yeah, showing that we care, engaging them, talking to them, and supporting them as much as we can. Great question. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think that a lot of times, the purpose that we have, I've done this with my kids, right? That often the purpose we have for our kids is not the purpose that they should have for themselves, right? That they have certain desires. So I tell young people, and I counsel a lot of young adults, young college students, I always tell them, you want to be happy in life and you want to be prosperous. And I don't mean prosperous in the sense that we use it here in the West, but prosperous, where you have a life that's filled with purpose. Find out what you like doing and find out what you're good at and pursue that. And then immediately, I'm going to do video games. No, that's not what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about something else. Find out what you're good at, find out what you like at, and there's great prosperity there. What a beautiful thing that is, right? That I love this. I didn't leave football to go into speaking so that I could make more money. I have to laugh when I say that, right? I didn't do that. But I'm going to tell you, I find what I do now is more fulfilling than anything I've ever done. And so I, as an adult, love to encourage young people, man, find out what you're good at. And you got to do that. You got to try a vast array of things. Educationally, I took a lot of courses to try to figure out what I wanted to do and what I like to do. Be exposed to a lot of things. I wish, and I know that obviously many can't, My kids have been fortunate enough to be able to travel with me to places overseas. I wish you could get to see other places, to see how big this world is, and to recognize that, hey, you have something you can contribute with your gifts and talents. Thank you for your question. Yes. Anybody else? We're good. All right. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Jeff, we'll have you sign this book, which we will donate to a local elementary school that is named after a former member of ours. Next week's program is PARS, Prevention and Resiliency Services. This is our foundation's signature project, and Haley Gill is going to be our speaker. I will remind you that you are welcome to join Topeka's most outstanding CEO, Mater D, and take your dishes to one of the trays at the outside of the room. Brendan and his staff will be happy to accept your help in that. If you didn't sign in when you came, please sign in as you go out. If you've donated clothes for the clothing bank or candy for the trunk or treat, please sign the sign-up sheet there so we can keep track of everyone that's participated. And with that, we'll close with the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Have a great week.